Liverpool, England, January 20th, 1931. A city wrapped in fog, shipping docks, and quiet secrets. On a modest street in the Anfield district, a 52-year-old insurance salesman named William Wallace walks home from his weekly chess club. Nothing about Wallace stands out. He's quiet, sickly, polite, the kind of man neighbors barely notice. But that night, something is wrong. When Wallace reaches his front door, his key won't turn. The house is locked from the inside. Moments later, after forcing his way in, Wallace calls his neighbors and utters 5 chilling words. "Come quickly, she's been killed." Inside the sitting room, his wife Julia Wallace lies dead. And what police are about to discover will become one of the most baffling murder mysteries in criminal history. Julia Wallace was 59 years old. When investigators arrived, they found her body lying on the sitting room floor. Her skull had been crushed by multiple violent blows. The scene was savage. A fireplace poker lay nearby, stained with blood. But detectives could never prove it was the murder weapon. And then they noticed something even stranger. The house was locked. Every door, every window. No signs of forced entry. Whoever killed Julia Wallace either had a key or was already inside. Then came another strange detail. The cash box had been searched. Drawers were pulled open. But Julia's handbag, filled with money, sat untouched beside her body. If this was a robbery, why leave the money behind? From the very beginning, this case didn't just look like murder. It looked like a carefully constructed puzzle. To understand this crime, we have to go back one day earlier. The evening of January 19th. William Wallace is attending his regular chess club meeting. While he's there, the club captain receives a telephone call. The caller asks specifically for Wallace. The man introduces himself as R.M. Qualtrough. He claims to have an urgent business opportunity. He asks Wallace to meet him the following evening at 25 Menlove Gardens East, 7:30 sharp. But there's just one problem. That address doesn't exist. The next night, January 20th, Wallace leaves home around 6:45 p.m. He kisses his wife goodbye, then boards a tram across Liverpool. But witnesses later report something unusual. Wallace keeps asking people for directions. The conductor, passengers, a ticket inspector, even strangers. Where do I find Menlove Gardens East? He tells them he's unfamiliar with the area, which is odd, because Wallace had lived in Liverpool for years. At every stop, he asks again and again, almost as if he wanted people to remember him. Eventually, Wallace arrives in the Menlove Gardens neighborhood. He asks a police officer, a shopkeeper, a boy on the street. But by 7:45 p.m., the truth becomes obvious. There is no Menlove Gardens East, only north, south, and west. The mysterious Qualtrough never appears. Frustrated and soaked from the rain, Wallace heads home. Wallace arrives home around 8:45 p.m. He tries the front door. Gluck. He tries the back. Gluck. Neighbors, the Johnstons, notice him struggling and walk over. "Did you hear anything unusual tonight?" Wallace asks nervously. Together, they force the back door open. Wallace steps inside first. The house is dark. He lights a lamp. Then suddenly, a scream echoes through the hallway. Moments later, he shouts to the neighbors, "She's been killed. Look at her. Look at her brains." Police quickly focus on one suspect, William Wallace. But the timeline refuses to cooperate. The police surgeon believes Julia died around 6 p.m., which means Wallace was still at home. But witnesses place Julia alive at 6:30 p.m., speaking to a milk boy. Another medical expert suggests she died closer to 8 p.m. If that's true, Wallace was on the tram surrounded by witnesses. But here's the real problem. Even if Wallace committed the murder at 6 p.m., He would have had just 15 minutes to commit a brutal attack, remove bloody clothing, wash every trace of blood, hide the weapon, lock the house, and calmly leave. Police checked the drains. No blood. The sink. Clean. The fireplace. No burned clothing. There was simply no evidence. Despite the contradictions, police arrest Wallace. The media paints him as a cold, calculating killer. The jury sees a quiet, emotionless man, and they believe he's hiding something. William Wallace is found guilty. The judge places the black cap on his head and sentences him to death. Wallace is sent to prison to await execution. But then something astonishing happens. The appeal court reviews the case and discovers a crucial detail. The mysterious phone call from R.M. Qualtrough was traced to a phone booth just 400 yards from Wallace's house. At the exact time the call was made, Wallace was seen leaving for the chess club by multiple witnesses, which means one thing: someone else made that call. Someone who knew Wallace's routine. Someone who wanted him out of the house. So if Wallace didn't do it, who did? Investigators considered three possibilities. A local burglar known as the Anfield housebreaker, but his crimes were quiet thefts, not brutal killings. Someone from the chess club. The killer knew Wallace's schedule and knew how to lure him away. Or perhaps a calculating psychopath. Someone who enjoyed creating the perfect crime. A murder so confusing, no one could prove what really happened. The appeal court overturns Wallace's conviction. He walks free, but his life is destroyed. Public suspicion follows him everywhere. Within 18 months, his failing kidneys take his life. He dies still claiming innocence. And Julia Wallace's murder remains officially unsolved. Nearly a century later, detectives, historians, and criminologists still study the case, because it may be the closest thing to the perfect murder. So who was R.M. Qualtrough? A random killer? A jealous enemy? Or someone Wallace knew all along? The truth may never be uncovered. But we want to hear your theory. Do you believe William Wallace was innocent? Or a genius killer who fooled the entire justice system? Let us know in the comments. And subscribe for more cases from America's Unsolved Files. Because sometimes a case may be closed, but the mystery is far from solved.